The fact that I am admitting to you people that I've ever cried in my life ever is a real testament to what kind of relationship we've developed here. Hi y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. I feel like most of the time when I talk about movies or TV shows on this channel, I'm usually talking about them having the effect of making me want to throw up, or burn merchandise, or scream into a camera for 20 minutes. But movies really are an art form, and they can cause us to feel a lot of different things. There is literally only a handful of movies that have ever made me cry, so I thought, why not make a video about that? Let's talk about these movies. Now, in all fairness, I really have not cried for all 10 of these. So we're going from 10 to 1. I've cried for the last 5 and number 8. But the rest of the movies on this list have brought me very close to tears. They've either made me choke up, they've almost made me cry and I held back, or they just made me very sad for a few hours afterwards, and then I had to go to Target and get myself a sweet treat. Please note that there will be spoilers for all 10 of these films. Most of these are pretty old movies, so there shouldn't be a problem with that. I'm just forewarning you. Now, let's get started. Number 10, The Iron Giant. This is an oldie but a goodie, and genuinely a great movie overall. Yes, you get some great characters and there's some humor, but the giant sacrifice at the end bummed the hell out of me. There's something about this character that was built for destruction, making this ultimate sacrifice for everybody that I don't know, it really kind of tugged at my heartstrings. Props to Vin Diesel for doing one good thing worth mentioning. Number 9, Little Miss Sunshine. This is such an innately human movie that I feel like it has something that'll hit home for literally everyone. An uncle who recently attempted suicide, a brother who realizes he can never achieve his dream of being a pilot, a problematic grandpa, and a self-conscious little girl. This is one of those movies that I actually pretty much saw when it first came out, and it's always tugged at my heartstrings in 2 different ways. One, the main character, Olive, she wants to be in pageants, and there's a scene where you see her coming to terms with the fact that she doesn't look like all the other little girls. I've always felt really connected to that, and also for as problematic and weird as the grandpa in this movie is, he has such a good relationship with the main character, Olive, that it almost reminds me of my relationship with my own grandfather, who is an absolute trip and is so great that when the grandfather in the movie passes away, I'm always so bothered. Number 8. Castaway. This is the one that, besides the first 5 on this list, actually brought me to tears. I'm gonna be very vulnerable about this, but the scene that gets memed the most when he loses Wilson, that makes me cry almost every time I watch this fucking movie. I get it, it's a volleyball with a face on it. The fact that he was so connected to this volleyball because it was all he had. I have literally had this stuffed hippo that I have had since I was 4. And she's been like kind of this ever-present thing in my life. And every time I see him lose Wilson, when he's like crying and apologizing to it, I see my hippo. I don't know, anyway, that part makes me cry and I feel stupid about it, but I'm admitting it anyway. Number 7, The Green Mile. This is genuinely a fantastic movie. Another Tom Hanks choice, interestingly enough. But to be honest, there's the obvious choice for why this movie would make you cry, right? But besides the execution of John in this film, the other thing that gets me, and this is gonna sound so stupid, I can't deal with Mr. Jingles the mouse being stepped on. I get it, he's resurrected later on, but I was just so bothered by the thought of this poor innocent mouse getting stepped on. Number 6, The Father. This movie was released in 2020, and I think it is criminally underrated. I'm sure it's a film that many of you watching this channel right now have not seen. I totally recommend it. It essentially follows Anthony Hopkins. He's playing an older man who is suffering with dementia, and you basically spend the entire movie watching his daughter try to take care of him as he kind of just worsens progressively throughout the movie. And the ending is so heartbreaking because for me, it really is one of those movies that paints a picture of the fragility of life. And also, I don't know how many of you are like really close to your grandparents, but I am so close to them that I can't deal with seeing sad old people. So this movie genuinely had me choking back tears the first and only time I've watched it. I've never been able to sit through it again. It's too much. Okay. Now we're getting into the top 5, and these top 5 did 100% make me cry, like ugly tears, snot from the nose, all the good stuff. Number 5, La La Land. When this movie came out in 2016, my dad tried to make me watch it because I hate musicals, and also because I was an angst-ridden teenager. I completely ignored this movie when he watched it in 2016, so I didn't remember anything about it. And last year, while I was working on a crafting project, it happened to come up as recommended to me on Netflix, and I remember it being such a big deal that I said, you know what, f it, I'll watch it. I still don't like musicals, and I can't say that the entire movie is that emotionally charged, but the main focus is the relationship between these two characters, and it builds up in this perfect, ideal way, these two quirky, artsy people coming together, and then it all falls apart so spectacularly at the end that second time that I really watched it, I was sobbing. I was sobbing into a pile of felt on the floor, which is probably the most pathetic thing I could do. But I was like, why? Like, why don't things just work out for people? I'd had plenty of disappointments dating people and relationships that didn't work out, so I think I now had the needed experience, but I felt like that one scene of Frank Reynolds in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh my God. I get it.
Yeah. La La Land became very real. Number 4, Marley and Me. I feel like this one is also self-explanatory. It came out in 2008. I was 8 years old. I got taken to the movie theaters by my dad to watch this movie about what looked like Owen Wilson and Jennifer Aniston having fun with a dog that just happened to be an asshole. I don't remember anything about this movie, but the thing that really stuck with me is that after an hour and a half of this f***ing dog's antics, they basically just euthanize him at the end because he gets old and decrepit and sick, and you have to watch Owen Wilson put this f***ing dog to sleep. I was 8 years old. I barely even had a concept of what death was at this point, and I am watching them euthanize a big fluffy dog. It was terrible. I don't know who the asshole that decided to market that as like a rom-com comedy type thing is, but anybody who decides that a dog needs to be slowly euthanized in a movie is a dick. Number 3, $1 Million Baby. This was one of those Best Buy bucket bins finds that my mom ended up picking up literally in like 2016 or 17. Now, I had heard the title $1 Million Baby several times before, but I had no clue what this movie was about. It's a good fucking movie, right? Hilary Swank's a boxer, you got Clint Eastwood, I love Clint Eastwood. And then he has to put her out of her misery at the end? What the fuck is that? That was atrocious. I did not expect that at all, and I really got way more into that movie than I needed to be. And the worst part is I'm sitting there now, like, trying to not cry my eyes out in front of my mom with a now finished plate of dinosaur chicken nuggets, fantastic by the way, and I feel her eyes just burning a hole in the side of my face as I'm trying to use my hair to hide the tears. And I just waited until the credits rolled, and eventually I was like, it's a good movie. Number 2, Inside Out. This is one of those that really, really just crushed me. On the one hand, Inside Out came out in 2015, and it deals with this kid as she's, you know, feeling out of place, and she's trying to come to terms with new feelings and a loss of interest in childhood things, for instance. And for me, age 15 was literally the year for that, because I was kind of a late bloomer in a lot of different senses. So for me, 2015 is when I really started losing interest in, you know, the childish things that I used to enjoy. And I felt myself detaching from all these things, and I was like scared to grow up pretty much. And so that movie really just tapped into that in a very primal way that I found incredibly wounding and disarming. Besides that though, I don't know how many of you remember the sacrifice of the character Bing Bong, her imaginary friend. And Bing Bong is this goofy, lovable, cute elephant thing. He like stays in a chasm and disappears. She's gonna forget him forever, and he's gonna kill me when he watches this video, but goofy, lovable characters like that have always reminded me of my dad, so I just couldn't take it. The worst part is that my dad was actually the one who forced me to watch the movie. He put it on, fell asleep, and so I am sitting next to him racked with sobs. And he notices nothing. He wakes up near the end of the movie and goes, is it any good? I'm like, yep, for sure. I f***ing hate that movie. I'll never watch it again. Number 1 is kind of a doozy. I feel like in the grand scheme of movies that typically make people cry, this isn't one of the main ones that comes up, but I do feel like you all will understand. And I'm gonna tell you the story. So In 2017, my best friend and I, we come to a crossroads. There are two movies we want to watch, one of which we're going to have my mom take us to, and the other of which his parents have offered to treat us to a movie with his siblings. So our choices were Logan and Skull Island. And given the sort of shitty track record that some of the X-Men movies had, we decided, you know what, we'll watch Skull Island with my mom, and we'll watch Logan with his parents and his siblings. Number one is Logan. So we sit down to watch this movie, and the exact order is me, my best friend, his younger brother, his parents, and his sister. At this point, my best friend and I have been friends for like 6 years. We're still best friends. He's the one who makes cameos in some of my convention videos. He knows what a hard ass I am. I don't cry in front of people. I'm not like a big touchy-feely person. That's not me at all. And you guys all know how Logan goes, right? First of all, I'm devastated through half the movie because Wolverine is my boy and the guy's in shambles. I was devastated. And then at the end, as he comes to this heroic and tragic end. And mind you, this is 7 years before anybody knew anything about Deadpool and Wolverine, right? That they were just gonna bring him back. So I am watching what is essentially the last stand of my favorite X-Man. I was genuinely, I've never cried this hard for a movie before. I wasn't making noise because I'm not an asshole, but I'm literally sitting there and I'm like, I'm dripping from the nose. Dripping from the nose, can barely see through the tears. The credits roll, and I'm still crying, like actively. But now I'm trying to get it together, and I don't know if you guys remember being a child when you're trying to not cry, and it's like that weird hyperventilating thing. That is exactly what's happening to me. And I hear his parents and his siblings now talking about the movie as they're, gathering all the trash to get up. And my best friend looks over at me, and I've now managed to freeze. I'm no longer crying, but I look like a mess. And he goes, "Did you like it?" And I didn't even look at him. I'm still staring at the screen, and I go, "Yep." His parents had to drive me home, and they were both like looking in the rearview mirror up at me because I'm now red-faced and I had mascara streaking down my face. Nobody asked me a goddamn thing, but holy shit. I have literally seen Logan the one time in theaters, and my mom wanted to watch it at one point, so I set it up for her to watch, and I walked out for the last 45 minutes of the movie. I've never seen it again. I don't want to. That was devastating. That movie fucking killed me. I feel like that was an odd selection, but I also feel like it says a lot about me as a person. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts in the comments, so that's all for me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, be sure to check me out on Instagram, and if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider subscribing to my Patreon for exclusive photo shoot sets and cosplay content. I will add links to all of those in the description below. And let me know some movies that made you cry in the comments below.